Welcome. My name is Mark Anthony Dubose Jr. and I was born July 4th, 1986. I want to say thank you for tuning in. Today, I want to talk about something when it comes down to some trauma, to be able to help someone out, to be able to figure out more what's going on in life. And a lot of times we just dance in this world and we're so busy and we're so focused on everything else that we're not really spending the time needed to focus on ourselves and figure out what's going on with us. And that's kind of the main purpose of what I want to continue to keep on making videos, and the whole reason that I made a video in the first place anyways, is to get us to start thinking and start asking some questions. Because a lot of times we're running away from things. In most cases, we're running away from things because of trauma that's happened in our lives that we don't want to have to confront it. We don't have to deal with it. We want to try to just ignore it and act like everything is good to go and I'm so perfect and I'm so amazing. And realizing like there's something that's going on with you that's just you're just getting beat down every day. And you're just not getting past it, not getting through it, and it's just challenging you. And I want to be able to at least say something to someone right now that you can get through this, but you have to want to do that. And that's what for me, straight up, I started to realize a lot more issues I had going on in my life once I started introducing animals into my life. I had a cat, but cats are they're extremely independent animals. You don't really learn nothing, not nothing, but much from a cat. You learn how to take care of something to make sure it stays alive and clean up stuff and get certain habits like that. But as far as deep core things that are going on with you, they're not really, they don't really show much. But when I started getting into dogs, I started to realize flaws in myself, problems with myself, such as getting quick to anger sometimes, getting frustrated just super fast for no reason. It's just everything was good, everything was fine, chill, sitting, and all of a sudden just angry. And I just be have this I gotta let this anger out somehow. Nowadays, I just go for runs or go for walks. I learned that method. And that's got me to just understand it. But I didn't really understand it. It would just happen. And I never really understood my life in reality in a way that how come I'm fine one minute and then the next minute I'm just enraged. One minute I'm okay, the next minute I'm extremely depressed. One minute I'm just hey, everything is great, the world is awesome, and the next minute I'm just ready to end it all. I'm ready to just dig a ditch for myself. I was always confused about that. And then the closer I got to, especially these dogs, I started to realize some things that I started poking holes in myself. And I started poking holes in myself to see, this may sound weird, but I started to see the dog acting like how I would feel in the moment when things were going on with me. I would see that the dog would be nervous and it would just make me go back to being a child, for instance. Or something that was going on that just traumatized me that I still haven't gotten through clearly because I'm looking at it directly in my face. I would see that the dog would get suspicious and weary and nervous and on edge if I'm talking too fast or walking too loud or moving around too much, that I'm just there's some things that I need to work on with myself that I can't just keep running away from. And the more and more that I kept on thinking about this, the more and more I started to realize the word I want to talk about, I don't know if I said it already, but is being delusional. Because when you enter a level of trauma, you start to become delusional. You start to believe things that aren't real. You start to see things that aren't real. You start to wonder and anticipate that the whole world is seeing everything the way that you're seeing it, and you're just in your own little world. You're in your own mind. You're not really in tune with being in real life. You're in fantasy world. And that can destroy someone because you could end up in a situation that you could be getting abused again, and in a way that, the mental abuse is kind of hard. It's hard to really see all that up front right away. It unless you're really in tune and really paying close attention to yourself and understanding your habits and seeing if things start to change with you, it's really hard to notice any sort of mental games that are going on with you, especially being gaslit all day. Someone that's just telling you something that isn't, and it could just really mess with you, and it can make you very, very delusional. And at the same time, the one that's pretty simple to be able to recognize is the one of being physically attacked, physically hurt, physically harmed, physically being touched, physically being battered, physically, and almost to a daily basis. You know what happens when you're in this level of trauma and you're delusional? You'll have reasons and excuses on why that's okay and why that's acceptable to be able to happen. And you just allow it to keep on happening because you're living in this fake world of oh, they do love me. They do care about me. They do want me. They do desire me. But they just hit me every once in a while, once a day. But they do really want to be with me. And it's something that I just get to thinking of when you run into that delusion from being in trauma. You're no longer the main thing I'm talking about is getting the rest that you need. You can't possibly be sleeping good. You're not sleeping good. And that's just going to add on further into your level of delusion. Now you're having issues with seeing things that aren't real. Now you're hearing things that aren't real. Now you're hearing voices that aren't really there. You're starting to just crumble and get into a big sticky situation. You know what's crazy? I just remember it was at least about a year. I think it was a year ago now. It was August of last year. The first time I saw this in a dog, that just really got me thinking a lot of These dogs, in my opinion, start to become delusional because they are in a level of trauma and they are not getting the rest that they need because of the trauma, because they're always on edge. They're on edge because they have been traumatized. And then they're starting to not get the rest, so they're starting to not be in the world, not see the world correctly. And this is the thing that's interesting about the dog, because they don't go through those like thinking processes like we do. They could just go into that doom and gloom. They're just in the right here, right now, what they see, what they hear, what's happening. Because I've worked, this one dog was the first dog that I've seen it many times, but I just never really put much thought into it. When the dogs are just barking out the window, I mean, they're barking, and you go out there, and you're like, there's nothing out here. There's nothing. There's nothing around. It's quiet, but the dog is barking like it is on a rampage. Like something is about to kill it right now. It's barking and going crazy. And you're trying to say to the dog, hey, all done. It's okay. It's okay. And the dogs just get more and more and more intense. They get more intense. And you try to even touch the dog, and the dog will turn back and like snap at you. And you're like, oh, let me just leave that alone. It gets real intense. When I started seeing that, I started paying more and more attention to dogs that I would see do stuff like this. And this is something that I see, you know, people taking their dogs for the walk, going around the lake, going to the park, going around the block, doing whatever you're doing. That your dog is seeing things that aren't actually really even there, because it's in a sense of delusion. It's not sure what's going on. It's not sure what it's seeing. It's not sure what it's smelling. It's not sure what's exactly going on. That it just has to lash out because it's in a, I'm going to die if I don't lash out. That's how most dogs look. I know some of y'all see the other side of the leash, but when you have your dog on your side of the leash, you see your dog all cuddly and sweet inside the house and stuff, so you can't imagine how like crazy and psychotic looking your dog actually looks at 6 feet in front of you, barking, doing what it's doing. They're usually in a sense of like, I'm about to die. It's not like, oh, this is fun, this is great. Sometimes the dogs start that way and it just progresses and it gets worse, but most cases, the dogs are like, they're in that fight or flight mode, man. They have to get out of here. And the way that they learn to be able to make the say threat go away faster is to bark it away. So in reality, the dogs are perceiving something to be a threat that actually isn't really even a threat. The dogs are seeing things and wondering what's going on because, for one, they're not getting enough rest that they need. And they're not dealing with being able to handle what's going on inside of them. So they just have to just lash out and they just have to go. This is something that I would want more and more people to really just look at your dog and wonder. The one thing that I do want to make sure that everyone has a good understanding of is your dog getting enough rest. Because what happens when the dogs are getting into that sense of, because again, I'm going to say this, but don't take it as you're purposely doing this. Just take it as, well, I'm going to say this now. Now, after you hear this, understand what's going on. We're not purposely trying to punish these dogs and be mean to these dogs, belittle these dogs, destroy these dogs all day long. But a lot of what we do, that is just what's happening. A lot of what's told to us is normal, is that's actually just what's going on. Is we're traumatizing these dogs and we're beating these dogs down and we're making these dogs try to submit to our control as if we are warranted that, as if we, I don't know what word to use there right now. I just had it, but I lost it. But as if we are like the God of the animal and we could just do whatever we want to it. And depending on what you believe, you know, I'm a Bible believer myself, that we have the said dominion over the animals. But also, if you really think about how animals are spoke about in the Bible, it's, we are not to, I mean, clearly, there's a whole commandment on giving them a day of rest. We're not to work them hard and just beat them down and just destroy them and just abuse them. We're here to make sure that we can give them a better life so that we can have a better life. But yet we're not doing that with these dogs nowadays. We're beating them down so that we can have a time the dog is, shut up, I don't want you to speak. But it still makes you question, like, why have a dog if that's what's going on in most cases, unfortunately? Why even have the dog? I still want people to really ask that first. But is the dog getting enough rest? Because of what we're doing with, especially when you're coming down to all your tips and techniques of getting a puppy. Because raising a puppy is going to be, it's going to be hard. It's hard. It's hard work to do. And what we like to do is when the puppy is not doing something that we want, we put hands on a dog. We yell at the dog. We shoo the dog away. We put the leash on and we just push the dog out. When the dog is a little baby, a little baby puppy, you're traumatizing this dog, because the dog doesn't understand what good and bad is. It just sees that every time that you're around and it's doing something that it's like, hey, I got just chewing stuff. I just chewing stuff. And you come in and you throw something at it. You hit it with something. You yell at it. You do something to it. You grab it and you move it and you push it and shove it in the crate and you do these things. Again, small, subtle, just grabbing the dog by the scruff and just throwing it into that crate. I'm not saying throwing it, clearly not across a 20-foot room, but just putting it in there and shutting the door is traumatizing that animal. And now that animal is running into a situation of just accepting, in reality, the abuse is okay. This is just normal. And it's not living in a real world anymore. It's living in a fantasy world. And a fantasy world is going to start to make that dog keep coming up with new games in its mind, trying to escape what's actually going on. So these dogs will start barking, 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 barking. They'll start chasing, chasing, chasing. They'll start doing some crazy stuff that just dogs are just not inherently created and made and bred to do. They start doing weird, weird things, like spinning circles, like chewing on their tails, like chewing their feet all day, like just weird things, scratching at walls all day. I mean, some dogs just lick themselves all day, obsessive about licking, just doing weird stuff, chewing weird items, and you're just like, I don't understand what's going on here. Some dogs just digging, man. I don't care if it's a concrete floor, they're digging to the point that they're destroying your paw pads. These dogs start doing weird, very weird things. And of course, those are all on the extreme side of it, where we can clearly see something's going on here. But in reality, all dogs across the board have some of this that's going on inside of them. And it's just a matter of how extreme it is compared to how just mild it is. But even in a mild case, the dog is struggling. And we need to figure out what's going on here to be able to make sure that everything is going to be able to be smooth from now on. But what I just see that starts happening is the dogs just start accepting the, like, say, abuse. And this is what gets complicated, because when you want to, like, take your dog to, say, a dog park, meet other dogs. If the dog has been under that rulership of feeling like putting hands on and manhandling and doing that is normal, your dog is going to go do that with another dog now. And it's going to think that that's acceptable. Because that's a situation I got with one of my shepherds. He thinks it's okay to just, like, be rough, because that's how he was handled from, I don't know what was going on with him before I got him. The dude was manhandled. The dude was man. All I can say is that straight up term right there. He was manhandled. He was forced. He was grabbed. He was held. He was beat. He was choked. He was in a lot of sticky situations before I even got him. And then when I got him, I knew not to touch this dog, because he's about to bite you if you even think of doing anything to him. But he has that in him. So when he's like playing and doing what he's doing, he wants to be just as rough. He wants to be tough. He wants to go all out. He wants to go hard. So it's really hard to, like, now I got to, like, coach him and recoach him of how to properly play with something, because how he was taught as a puppy is not right, is not acceptable. And a lot of y'all got a dog like that that's going on. That's why when you let your dog loose to go play with another dog, it is like ready to it is hard wrestling, man. It's not playing gentle. Because if we play gentle with the dog to show it what gentle is, the dog would also be gentle. That's the concept of how the moms and the dads teach the dogs how to not bite too hard. They teach them that, and then it's like, okay, that's how it is. But if the dog bites you and you smack the dog, the dog bites you and you smack the dog, and you do stuff like that to that dog, just expect that that dog is going to do something wild, not only to you, but more likely to someone else, or something else, or someone else, even worst case scenario. But that's just what has to happen, because that's what they learn. That's what they know. And they're just a reflex. They just do based on what they know. They're not going to, like, oh, I used to do it like that, so I feel like doing it like, no, that's a weird thing about what I realize that dogs don't do, and animals I've seen that humans can do. I got to decide that I don't like what I used to do, and I'm going to do this now. Humans can do that. That's a weird thing about us as humans that I just don't see how dogs are. My border collie that moves animals, he's over there moving baby chicks back in the coop. He's not one day just going to, I feel like being a guardian dog. I just want to guard the chickens now. I don't want to actually, like, move them and chase them. They just don't do that. They do what they do from birth to death, and that's just what they are. That's what they're all about. We could try to convince them not to do something, us as humans, but that's not them doing it on their own. We have to intervene and do something to them. And it's something that is just very, very interesting when it comes down to these dogs, because the more and more I see that the dogs keep getting more and more traumatized, the more and more issues that just don't make sense to people. We're seeing dogs that are doing weird stuff today, such as, like, the reactive. They're just barking and going crazy. And in most cases, the dogs are doing that, and there's not even anything around. And even if there is something around, it's not even a threat that's coming around. I get it. If your dog is barking at a dog that's already barking at it, it's at the end of the leash, they're both barking, going crazy, that's just a sticky situation to be in. But if that other dog is just looking at your dog with cool, smooth, calm, relaxed, chill, and your dog is freaking out at that dog, there's something going on here that we really need to take some steps back and start asking some questions and start figuring out what's going on here. What's actually happening? Because, again, most of the stuff that we do with these dogs, we don't see as abuse. We just see it as it's just a dog. We just move the dog around. We do what we do. But in reality, I mean, this is straight up, man. We do this to the baby children the same way. The baby child does something, you just smack that kid, and it's just like, oh, that'll teach you. You may not do that again. And we think that, like, that's going to get somewhere. And at the end of the day, in reality, it just doesn't get anywhere doing that. It doesn't give you anything of value in the end to work with when you're just smacking, hitting, doing things like that. You're going to end up with something that is going to, we don't know what type of trauma is going to come from that in reality. It depends on that individual person, what's going to happen. And that's the same thing with the dogs. We don't know exactly what's going to happen from it. We just have to kind of watch it and see what's about to happen. But when I see certain things with certain dogs today, it's no longer like a mystery to me of like what could be. I'm just like, I kind of have a general idea of like what's actually going on with this dog behind closed doors for this dog to look and act like this. And it's not always a bad thing. It could be good things, but also at the same time, we do things that are good that aren't actually good, that they're actually bad and disastrous for the dogs to be able to do. But it's something that we all should look at these dogs and start to ask questions of what's going on. Because there's a reason why everything is happening, and there's a reason for where everything is going and what you're seeing and what's being displayed. Because for me, it was a fascinating thing for me to see like trauma that I had in my dog being put out there. So more than likely what was going on is me being in my delusional world, I would portray things that used to happen to me onto something else, thinking like not really consciously doing it, but just doing it because I haven't got past it, I haven't gotten through it. And I started seeing the dog do the same stuff as me. And so I started to see the dog be just like me. I'm like, dude, why are you like all on edge now and next minute you're cool? I started just like questioning some things that are going on here. And that's for me, you know, this isn't just for everyone. For me, I wanted to, I took the hard steps, the hard understanding just to recognize that there's something wrong with me. And I decided that I want to do whatever it takes to be able to figure out what's wrong with me, I guess I could say the words. And it hasn't been, it hasn't been easy, and it's still not easy. It's a very, very challenging thing that I don't know how long it's going to continue to keep on working to figure out, like, finally go over that hump of like, hey, things are pretty cool now. But that's what I'm constantly still working with. That's why I love getting different dogs, especially just dogs from different places, not the puppy, but a dog that's already has baggage, it has issues. So that I can like see what's going on with that, to be able to realize like what's going on with me, knowing that I can see the how that dog was to transform that dog into like basically where am I in my life today. And that's something I can say with this dog here. I'm doing much better in my life at this moment, just seeing how this dog is, because this dog is much more sensitive than the others. You tell her no, you get on her, and she's just like, she shuts down. She's like, I don't want nothing to do with you. I don't care about you. She's not say ran away from me a few times, but she hasn't come back to me a few times when I first got her, because she was just looking at me like, dude, you just wrong. You're not right. And it just lets me realize like certain things that are going on. So that's why for me, to say to someone, anyone, get a dog, because dogs are really neat. They're able to like show you what's going on. But at the same time, there's stuff that we have to be able to figure out how to be able to get through and be able to get better to make sure that we're going to be able to do more on this planet. Because most of us, man, unfortunately, I don't care what you say. I grew up in a perfect family. Everything was great. You grew up traumatized, man. Something happened to you. Something went down. And now it's time to be able to figure out how to be able to get through that and accept what happened, forgive what happened, and move forward with your life and make something happen. And the dogs are very interesting because, like, again, this is the thing that I'm just noticing that is different this past 100 years compared to before with dogs, is we live with them now. We live with them. They are like so close with us today. They're all smothered inside of us today. Like this dog, you know, these two don't really live with, they live with me, but they're not like in the home with me. They're not like all around me. But this dog is with me. This dog is with me. He's always, they're so close to us today. They're all inside of us. They're watching everything that we're doing. When you're sitting watching and scanning on your phone, get a little excited, they're watching everything that's going on with you. They're like prisoners in our homes that are just studying us and paying attention to what's going on with us. And they're seeing what's happening, seeing what makes you happy, what makes you sad, and they're in our worlds, and we're not really even giving them a choice. We're forcing them to be in our worlds. And that's going to bring a level of complexity that we have to start paying attention to what's going on with us to figure out how to be able to get the dogs to be able to get better. If you're just angry and frustrated, just understand that more than likely you're going to have a dog that is not going to be angry and frustrated, but it's going to be like scared, timid, and nervous. But most of the time we get angry and frustrated because of trauma that's happened to us. We feel like we have to like stand up. Somebody did something to you, they beat you down, and now you have to be that one that's like, I'm not going to let no one do that to me again, so you got to just get back at somebody. You know, that's the concept of why, no, unfortunately, a lot of men and most men are messed up today because you had that one bad relationship in your life. You had a bad relationship, and now you're just going to treat every girl bad because that one did that to you. So you're going to go instantly into the next one, just treat her like crap. Next one, next one, next one. And you're just going. You can't stay because you're on edge because of something that's happened to you. So you have to keep jumping and have to keep moving and have to keep cruising. And then you're 100 deep into this and wondering, oh, what's going on? There's nothing good out there. No, what's wrong with you? If you've passed 2 already and you're having huge issues with just 2, there's one person in the middle of those 2 that's going on that we really need to look at to pay attention to what's going on. And these dogs are like, it's so fascinating that they're like trying their best, but we're not like, we're not giving them that benefit of doubt. And what it is that's going on in most cases is we're putting on them stuff that even we can't handle, and we need to be able to get through and be able to get past. But for some reason, we just have this, oh, just put obedience on the dog and make it sit, make it down, make it go, to try to mask and run away from what's actually going on. And that's why a lot of y'all, it works for a little while, man. It works. But then something starts to happen that, the one thing I want to say is, the problems that you have that you haven't dealt with start to just become too clear. And when, this is one thing that I know a lot of mothers have said this, and I've heard this from a lot of women, that you see you in your child. You see things that you used to do to your mom that you're just like, why are you doing this to me? And then you really look at it and you're just like, I used to do that. And a lot of men with their sons, they see the same thing. Like, you're doing the same stuff that I used to do. The same things. It's like, it's weird, it's creepy. Because most cases that's going on because we haven't dealt with what happened, and now we're just reliving it in reality in a different sense, in a different way. We're just moving further and further into it and not actually like figuring out how to get out of it and away from it. That's why it's neat for me that dogs are a real good learning lesson for us. Especially, like, you're a young guy right now, and anyone that knows a young guy right now, I'm talking guys in their 20s, even an 18-year-old guy, get you a dog. Don't worry about having no babies yet. Get you a dog and see if you can, like, get that dog to be in a good place. A dog that's not scared, not nervous, not shut down. A dog that's not overly excited and you don't know how to be able to communicate to it. You're going to be able to understand a lot about yourself, to be able to move forward with realizing that you've had issues and now we have to work past those issues. And delusion is something that is just so toxic, because you start to have a fake world go on around you. You start to have this, you live off of, unfortunate thing that we do today, which is really unfortunate. We live off of feelings over facts. Someone could give you all the facts and say, hey, he put you in the hospital this time, this time, this time. Broke your skull, broke your elbow, broke your knee, broke your ankle, broke your toes, broke all your hands, broke you, just broke your nose. All those facts can be put at you. But when you're living in a delusion, those facts mean nothing, because, oh, he likes me. I feel that he likes me. I feel that I'm good. I feel everything is all right. And that's where you're going to set up for absolute disaster. Absolute disaster, because you're not living in the real world. You're living in a fake world. And that fake world usually happens because of some sort of trauma that goes on with us. And that trauma is something that we must absolutely learn how to be able to understand that it's there, and understand what it is, understand where it came from, understand how to forgive, how to understand how to move forward. And that's when you're going to start to really see some real world results of being able to get better in this world. Thank you. What's up, Opie? You're doing really good. You're getting much better. Nope. I don't want to pinch you. There you go. But this is how she looks after she goes for a hard run. She just went for probably one of the hardest runs she's had in a while, and every single time she's a completely different dog when she's able to just get that exercise out, and she just sleeps, man. She sleeps. And the reasons on why I know it's easy for me to get this dog exhausted, I even looked at the time. I was like, it's only 20 minutes, girl. You are done. Like, stumbling, can't even move no more. Only 20 minutes. Because I'm not putting the pressure on her of, in reality, at the end of the day, of ever even being perfect. I gave up on that. You mess up, you mess up. It's weird that the more I gave up on that, the more that she does what I'm looking for. I don't even have to say down to her anymore. And if I just stand and I'm with her, she just lays down. She just hangs. You're rubbing your booty, girl. She just hangs out. She's so chill now. Whereas before, I used to have to, like, punish the heck out of that to get her to do that. But I realized when I'm not punishing her, I'm not putting her in that level of trauma, I'm allowing her to be able to express herself and be herself, she goes all out in the exercise that she's able to do. And she doesn't have anything to hold her back. And she's just starting to just get so comfortable and so confident. And that's what's allowing the dog to just be, at the end of the day, a really, really, really nice dog. A really nice dog. A dog that I do not need to worry about. I'm not worried about another dog running up to me and what's going to happen. I'm not worried about her running up to another dog, what's going to happen. I'm not worried about her even taking off and chasing the squirrel, because she only goes like 10 to 15 feet after it. She doesn't just go run off 8 miles away. That's what gets a lot of y'all's dogs in danger, because they see the deer and they're gone for a mile. And they don't know how to get back because they didn't track their way to be able to get to you. Like my shepherd could probably track his way back, but still, he might get lost. He's actually got lost on me one time. The day it was that day I took that e-collar off, and I couldn't give him. He looked back at me, and he looked at that deer. He looked at me, and he took off because he knew I couldn't do nothing. He was verified that I didn't tap that button yet, and he took off, and he was gone. He was gone, and I had to run through the woods to go find the dude. Got him back, but still, they just take off. I'm not nervous of anything that this dog could do it anymore today, because she's like, I got my chasing. And in reality, she knows that I'm going to give it to her. So she doesn't need to like try to like fight for it so much. She's going to get access to doing what it is that she wants to be able to do. And it's coming down to me understanding her needs and listening to her. Me seeing the things that, I don't like, and understanding a better approach to get her to stop doing the things that I don't like. I just make simple games, and I don't know why a lot of this works. Why my dogs don't eat my eggs anymore? Because I looked at them, the silly games that I do, that I just say, you eat the eggs out here, you're not getting dinner tonight, period. That means you already ate. You already ate 5, 6, 8 eggs out of a batch, you're not getting dinner tonight. You know what? They don't eat eggs anymore. I tell Ophi, the Dalmatian, because there's times that she's just running a foo and doing too much. I said, you either lay down or you go in the crate. The first thing that girl does is she goes and lays down. She's like, okay, I'll just lay down. It's like my place command without needing to train anything into them, just giving them what they need. And then that place command just instantly comes. And my place command is, we're chill, hang out, let's come get some pets, man. Let's just relax, we're off duty right now. You wanna go do something wild, we can go outside, we can go make something happen, and or it's just, we passed our time today. We got what we needed to do today, and it just is what it is. But even if I don't work the dog for a day, she's a little extra, but she knows she's gonna get it maybe the next day or the next day, she's going to get what she needs. So that brings her that sense of safety and comfort. And that's what, unfortunately, I see what we're not doing with dogs anymore. And especially me just seeing a huge change of how I work with this animal. I'm no longer punishing this dog for anything that she does. I see that she's doing what she's doing because that's what's in the best interest of her to do in the moment. Who am I to say that that's even wrong? I could guide her to say, I don't want that, but it doesn't have to come down to me having to use my leash, using a treat, doing anything to get the dog to stop doing what it is I'm looking for. And at the same time, doing that allows me to be able to give her the yes, let's go, let's do more, easier without it having to be a fight in any sort of way. The more and more I keep getting away from, especially the punishment side of things, of trying to say, walk with me and trying to punish, the more I keep fading away from that, the more, the best word I can use here is compliant, that she starts to become with me. She starts to do what it is that I'm actually looking for. And we're not fighting back and forth, because the more pressure I'd put on punishment, the more she's like trying to fight, like, I don't want to do this. We're just battling. We're like, what is it, the north and the south of the magnets. We're just, or is it north and north? The north and north of magnets. We're like, just, we get together and then we just bounce away. We have to keep fighting away from each other. But now we're starting to get in tune and in sync with each other. And that's what's making life so easy. And a lot of this stuff that we do that we don't think and realize is punishment to these dogs, but a lot of it just is. A lot of it is. A lot of what we're doing with these dogs from a very, very, very young age. That's why for me, I'm still gonna always recommend, you pick a dog up from the shelter, understand that dog's got baggage, man. It's got baggage. It's got baggage. Depending on if that dog has been able to want to work past its problems, its issues, its traumas, you are now just accepted and adopted that dog into your life that has issues that it just is what it is. At the end of the day, a relationship with anybody, if you've had one relationship and you've been husband, wife, you've had boyfriend, girlfriend when you're 18, your second one is going to be much different than that first one, because something happened for the reason why you're not together, for instance, that you're going to have baggage of what's going on. And the more and more we don't deal with what's actually happening, the more we're running away from it, the more that we're just going to manifest that somewhere else. It's going to show up somewhere else. You're not going to run from it. You're not going to be able to escape it. It's going to come back. And when it comes back, it's going to just infuriate you because you haven't dealt with it. And now I just want people to understand, to just deal with what's going on in your life. Understand that why we're doing what we're doing. Take a hard look into what's going on with you. If you are quick to get angry, start to ask yourself, when did that start? When did that start? Has it just been your whole life? At what day did when it start that you just started to become angry all the time? Because most time we could pinpoint it to something that happened to us. Something went down that we weren't too happy about. Something happened that just frustrated you. Something happened that you started to lose trust in everything and everybody. Something happened. Just start to really look more into that. And that's what's going to be able to get you to be able to just really excel on this planet. You're never going to be perfect, but people to understand how to be able to just live a more peaceful life, as opposed to just, because the word that I just see what a lot of people are in right now is agony. You're struggling. You think that you got to look away and buy certain things and take certain trips to be able to like be happy, but that's not gonna it's not gonna make you happy. Just being who you are is what's gonna make you happy. Hey, Johnny, Oreo, your name Johnny now? Your name Oreo? Of course, Oreo's the only one that don't come. Oreo, I know she peed there. You gotta pee on everyone's pee. It just is what it is. You have missed a boss man out here that's got to be on top of everything. I really like you a lot, Oreo. Are you ready to go get it again? These dogs are just so much fun, people.